Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Thursday. I hope it finds you well. It's warming up. It's going to be a nice day here in the Valley of the Sun. Hopefully, wherever you are, that you're starting to defrost a little bit. I'll say this, sales are heating up. And again, I think a lot of people are starting to figure out here, there's multiple problems. There's so many different things. If you focus in on just one, you're missing it, right? If you focus in on only inflation, you're missing it. If you're focusing in only on jobs, you're missing it. If you're focusing in on the plumbing, right, the financial plumbing, right, you don't have it all. If you're focusing in on the wars that are going on, I mean, are we at war with Yemen? Are we there yet? I mean, how many bombings constitute war? I don't know how many, but it kind of feels that way, right? Is that war expanding? I know Pakistan and Iran were lobbing bombs at each other. I think it has more to do with ISIS. Yeah, remember them? Remember ISIS? Yeah, it's so the election. If I'm just worried about the election, you're not getting the whole picture. But that's why you tune in right here, because we'll give it to you. 800-951-0592, the website at allamericangold.com. And yeah, Jason, so many things to talk about. I'm just, we got football playoffs, right? You got all that, the craziness. Think about Bill Belichick. He's no longer going to coach the Patriots. Nick Saban, he's not going to be the coach at Alabama. I mean, there's so many things. Jim Harbaugh, what's he going to do? Who knows? Maybe the Harbaugh brothers, right? Jim Harbaugh wins the national championship at Michigan. I would have to say Baltimore, his brother coaches the Baltimore Ravens. They got to be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I mean, that'd be quite a family accomplishment. Don't have you. Wait.
How's that?
There you go. You're on.
Got to turn that switch on. So, no, yeah, it's a year where pretty much anything can and probably will happen. And when it comes to sports, Joe, I just flip a coin. I think any of those teams, it's called mediocrity as far as I'm concerned. They don't have any great teams anymore, do they? I mean, the Patriots knew how to rig the game.
Maybe not.
Other than that, there was no great teams.
Yeah, we bombed Yemen again. I mean, do we have to declare anything, or I don't know how it works now. You just, hey, if you're just bombing them here and there, then you don't have to declare. Or I don't know.
I think those constitutional rules here in this country and in other countries' constitutional rules, I think they just found all kinds of ways to maneuver around and give themselves excuses. Yeah, it's all right. It's legal because it's not the way it used to be in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. It's just a different world. So we don't have to declare war. We bomb our enemies. That's just what we do. Right. Yeah, that's right. Hey, I'm going to say this. I may have a really interesting take because things may be taking a turn, and you can decide whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But apparently, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, and Chucky Schumer, there was a little meeting at the White House yesterday saying, okay, let's face it, no budget, no nothing, nobody can agree. Of course, the one thing I tell you is, here's the only thing they both agree on, the D's and the R's. Let's spend money. That's what they agree, right? They're haggling over how much more money should we spend. Maybe we'll spend a little less than we originally planned, but that's a lie as well, because it appears that there may be a deal back on the table to fund not only Ukraine,
to fund Israel, to fund Taiwan. Right? To fund all the pet projects that we need to fund. And at the same time, we'll throw some border stuff at you. Jason, when you look at this, already we have a spending problem. The debts are enormous. This will be, I hate to say it, but it will be inflationary because we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars and even more spending on top of the spending that they can't even agree to.
Yeah, well, yesterday we talked about those two facilities the Fed's going to shut down in late March. So I don't get the feeling that's when they spend is going to be okay again, and that's probably when these wars get worse, Joe.
That's a great, that's a really great look into the future because that would seem likely, wouldn't it? Right? Because yesterday we talked about, listen, you got to be really careful here, and I'm serious. The plumbing of the financial system is not good. We had another terrible auction yesterday. 20-year auction is terrible. The banks don't want to keep more capital. Why? Well, because they don't have more capital to keep. I mean, it's pretty simple. And to Jason's point, right now there doesn't look like there's going to be a budget agreement, but they've agreed. If not, we'll push that into March. So it sure looks like they're setting up March to be a really big spend, and let's do a bunch of other stuff on the side that you don't know about type of a thing. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Thursday. A quick look in at the markets. The Dow is down, not a lot, but down 30. The S&P and the NASDAQ are higher right now. The 10-year note is higher, 413. Again, these auctions are starting to have an effect here. Not only, they're worried about, well, when is the next rate cut coming? The bottom line is the amount of debt just doesn't end. And remember, we're about, 11 days away from the Treasury needing more money in the checkbook. Where we're anticipating somewhere between, somewhere in the ballpark of 125 billion more dollars that's going to need to be sold. We've been talking about all this stuff that looks like is going to be happening in March. We got higher crude prices, higher gold prices, higher silver prices. I think 2024, 2022, it was a bad year. And it was a bad year the whole year. 2023, pretty good. And I'm talking debt market-wise. Pretty good year for the debt markets. Right? And we were waiting for that shoe to fall, for that shoe to drop. I think 2024 is going to be a year of extreme volatility. I think we're going to get at least one. I would say this. I'd put the over-under on Fed operations. And I'm not talking about lowering interest rates, but things like ending quantitative tightening, ending the bank loaning program, having to restart quantitative easing, having to recreate the bond market program after the Trump temper tantrum that they had, the taper tantrum that they had, or another facility to bail out these banks. I'm going to say I think there's going to be at least three of those, at least in 2024. I think it's going to be a year of extreme volatility, and this is why, we really like our friends over at Y-Refi, because you can get up to 10.25% fixed rates of return, not correlated to Wall Street. Right? That's the beauty of it all. You can take maybe you've got an IRA, right? And who knows? You know what? Maybe you got $1 million. I don't know. Maybe you got $100,000. Got to have at least 50,000, and you may want to take some of it. I'm not saying take the whole thing, but take some of it and say, you know what? I'm going to sit the volatility out because I don't know. 37,000 on the Dow seems expensive right now. Just does, right? 4,700 on the S&P seems expensive. It may go higher, maybe. It can. But it's going to be rough going here. And I actually think we're in a period here, like I said, the amount of debt we need to grow, it's nuts. I mean, think about, we're talking about a budget deficit of what? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 trillion? Trillion! And that's, that's if nothing bad happens. And the Fed is saying, you know what they're predicting GDP this year? 1%. Wait a minute. We're going to go $2.5 trillion into debt, and we can't even get 2% GDP growth? I mean, that's how bad the situation really is. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or call them at 888-YREFI24. And Jason, yesterday we talked about Nicky Leaks, right? He's the Wall Street Journal guy the Fed likes to leak information to, saying get ready for the wind down of quantitative tightening. Of course, that makes sense because the reverse repo money's running out. Then yesterday, somehow now, all of a sudden, hey, we're all buddies here. Let's figure out a way to spend a couple $100 billion more dollars. And we're kind of really angling in on this March date. I mean, we're less than 60 days away. That's not a lot of time. It doesn't look like we're going to get a budget deal. What I've read says they've already got something set up that they'll kick the can to March. That's when the bank bailout facility is supposed to end. March also looks like when the reverse repo is going to be out of money. According to Nicky Leaks, March is also going to be when the Fed announces and starts its wind down of quantitative tightening. And Jason, you brought it up. Is March going to be the month where all of a sudden, and leading up to March, we get an uptick in war, so that gives them cover to spend all this money?
I think anything financially that starts to go bump in the night is going to have plenty of smokescreen cover to point fingers at various places that you mentioned in the first segment. Anything from sports all the way to geopolitical wars going on. That March looks like maybe where the financiers of the world are like, okay, here's where there's going to be a huge bump. It's coming. Let's get our fingers armed and ready to point because it's going to happen. And there's so many things, Joe. There's so many things to blame. And yeah, you're right. More bank closures. I see at least as many as we had last year. Most likely what happens is the first year you have these bank closures starting to come up. It goes up for a couple of years before it comes back down. So we should have, and I don't know if it'll be as major as Silicon Valley Bank. I mean, it's hard to believe that the couple of banks that closed early last year were bigger than most of the banks that closed in 2008. People got to remember that was, maybe inflation adjusted. It wasn't quite as big, but it was dollar for dollar was bigger. That's going to increase, Joe. Maybe it's smaller banks than Silicon Valley Bank, but I think the number of them it's coming, Joe. It's definitely coming. I
think we're going to see a gobbling up of institutions as well. Kind of a cover. We said they got bought out instead of saying that we closed them, right? I think we're going to see a lot of that as well. And, just looking at yesterday's auction, right? The 20-year auction, the lowest bid to cover since March of 2023. So, again, with these lower rates, less people want to buy it, right? That kind of makes sense, right? Hey, I don't want to lock in for 20 years at this low of a rate. The internals were even worse than that. By the way, another one of these big tails. As I told you, big tails are bad. Indirects took 62%. That sounds like a lot. It's not. They are used to taking 2/3 to 75% of these types of auctions. It was the lowest going back to 2021. That's where you want the money to go. What they call indirects, because that's not the bank. That's true probably. People not associated with banks buying treasuries. That's a healthy sign. So the fact that they're not buying is not good. Directs about the average, right? That's about 20%. And again that's normal. And then of course the dealers, right? That's the banks. They had to take the largest share of this 20-year auction, again, going back to November of 2021. And this is weekly. This is occurring weekly. This again is going to be putting pressure on that reverse repo market. It just shows you, this is the plumbing that we keep talking about, right? It's not totally clogged up. Right? It's not totally clogged up, but it's draining slow, right? It's not flowing the way it needs to be. And this is, Jason, the U.S. Treasury market, the most liquid market in the world, as they like to say, looking not so liquid right now.
Where would it be without that bank term funding program that we talked about yesterday, buying up stuff that ain't being bought, which ends in March? It's funny, it's ending in March, and you said March 11th. If that's true, that's right after Super Tuesday, when 2/3 of the votes for primaries are done. There's just so much swirling around March, Joe. So much.
It really is an interesting thing that we'll see what happens. Here's the problem. Once the repo's out of money, then these dealers have a problem. No wonder why. Yesterday we talked about why are all the major banks freaking out that the Fed wants them to have more money. I mean, they all reported they weren't great, but outside of Citigroup, they all made money. Now, most of it was by keeping money at the Fed, but they all made money. And billions of dollars, and they had to pay the big banks had to pay $9 billion to the FDIC to make up for Silicon Valley, right? And of course, a piece of it, anyway. And they still made some money. What's the problem? Well, I think the answer was in that auction. Here's the problem. And you got to understand, this isn't like, we had to buy $1 billion worth. These auctions are huge. 40, 50, 60, $100 billion. But think about the auction that's coming at the end of the month. It's going to be over $100 billion. And the banks are like, listen, we can't take 20% of $100 billion because the big banks, they're the ones that run the auctions. And now you're telling us we got to have more money set aside? Jason, the math just doesn't work. I think what the big banks are trying to tell the Fed, and this is, again, you got to question how smart these guys really are, because remember, go back to 2019, the temper tantrum, Mark Cabana, B of A, was in May saying, what are you guys doing? Right? And by September, the whole thing had fallen apart. I think this is kind of a replay. Hey, dummies, if you really make us do this, this whole thing's going to fall apart really fast.
Once again, there's so many factors involved in decision making, right, Joe? Imagine March 5th, that's Super Tuesday. Let's say Trump secures the Republican nomination. He just blows everybody out. Then the bank term funding program ends, and the reverse repo immediately empties. And the Fed comes out and it's like, well, we're not lowering interest rates. The inflation's back. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Well, they all just point at politics. They'll point at all the politics.
And on top of that, Congress miraculously got together and spent another couple $100 billion that we don't have, right? I mean, all of it together.
Government shut down in March, right? At the same time. They sure are pushing it to March, aren't they?
It's 800.
You got 2 months to buy gold. You got 2 months to buy gold, right?
2 months. 800-951-0592. When we get back, we had jobs data out today. It didn't say rate cuts. A number rarely seen. We'll talk about that. And then Donald Trump saying, hey, you want to do a digital currency? Not on my watch. Uh-oh. Is the line being drawn? I mean, I don't know if he would stick to it or not, but he says, nope, I'm not going to. Now, here's the problem. It already exists, at least on the wholesale side. But I don't know. Does that mean everybody's going to try to re-elect Joe Biden again? Maybe, right? We'll be back right after this. 800-951-0592. It is Thursday, so we got first-time jobless claims. I figured this number would be weird. I guess I'm not smart enough. I don't have the vocabulary to come up with the right word. But we knew that retailers really didn't hire like they had in the past. And my guess is the seasonal adjustments are a little off. But let's not get carried away. It's not like, it's totally inaccurate here. It was the second lowest number on record for first-time jobless claims. 187,000. That is the second lowest number outside of May 1969. Okay? So understand this. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it is what it is. But according to the government, everybody's working. This with a number like this, 187. Right? Isn't that the code 187? Right, for murder. All the cops out there, I think it is.
That's right.
Right?
Yes,
right.
It is.
Well, I don't know why that popped in my head, but you would think the Fed would be like, man, we got to raise rates some more. Well, I mean, look at this. Man, the job market's overheated. Oh, my gosh. And GDP growth, it's going to be 4%. I mean, now this would say inflation is screaming, right? All of these things. I don't know that it says any of that. But that's what the number says. The lowest number, second lowest number ever, going all the way back to March of 1969. And I think this is why everybody's so confused. Listen, gold's up a dozen today. Now, granted, they hit it yesterday. Gold shouldn't be up today, right? Right. The 10-year note is up, right? Well, now you know why the 10-year note's even higher. It probably has more to do with the crappy auctions than this number. But again, if you just look at one little piece or one little sliver, you're missing the big picture. And the big picture says we've got a debt problem. And we've got a debt problem. At the same time, they're trying to shrink the money supply. See, those two fundamental things don't work. If debts are rising, the money supply needs to rise with it, because if it doesn't, eventually the financial institutions run out of money. That's kind of what we're talking about here. It's going to happen. But we just don't know the exact day. And people out there, well, how can you be so sure? Come on, Double. The dollar's been around forever, right? Oh, my gosh, we're the superpower of the world. That's brand new. It's brand new. I know that's what we're used to. But so were the Romans. So were the Greeks, right? So were, heck, even for a while, Portugal, Spain, England, right? They all said the same thing. If you really ask a banker who knows what he's talking about, they will all tell you fiat money goes to zero. Always has, always will. Not 90% of the time, not 80% of the time, heck, not 99% of the time. No. 100% of the time. And it's getting ready to happen here. Donald Trump knows it. Now, he came out today, and I'm sure this is something where he realizes his base wants to hear. He said that he's never going to allow a central bank digital currency because it gives the government absolute control over your money. And that's what we've been telling you all along. That's what they want. See, they think that's the problem. Because you got to understand, who do they hate? Who does Jay Powell hate? Who does the Federal Reserve hate? Who do the banks hate? People that put money in their bank and don't touch it. Why would a bank ever kick out a customer? Why are banks right now kicking out? Well, you know what? You've had this account for years, and you've never touched it. You don't write checks on it. It just sits there. You need to leave our bank. Oh, yeah. People don't know. That happens. That happens a lot. Because they can't make any money on you. The Fed hates you. Why do you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account? Right? You're supposed to spend it. Right? We had interest rates at zero for 15 years. Everybody should have no money in their bank account. They know with the digital currency, they can make that happen. Because now they can have a 10-year note at 5%. And have your bank account be negative 1% if they want to. Right? They can say, hey, you have to spend X amount of dollars. Think about it, because think about the percentage of the population that gets money from the government. They can make sure you don't save any of that money. You got to spend all of this money. Right? This money's only good, right? They can have money with expiration dates on it. Trump, this would be a dangerous threat to freedom. I will stop it from coming to America. We are going to put in place strong protections to stop banks and regulators from trying to debank you for your political beliefs. Now, that could be too. Right? We see, look at Canada, right? What did they do to people that were giving money, to the truckers that were striking, right? They can try to debank you. But Jason, it really is, it sounds good. I'll be honest, I want to believe that Joe Biden and Donald Trump and anybody else running for president will say the same thing. But here's the problem. The actions say otherwise, doesn't it? They've done nothing. These banks, this digital currency already exists. They're using it. FedNow is in use as we speak, Jason.
Yeah, well, where was this tough talk about the Fed in his first term?
We'll see. Maybe he's learned a lesson. Patriot Radio News Hour. We're coming right back. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. If that is true, if let's just say Donald Trump gets the nomination and becomes president once again, and he blocks the digital currency, that's going to be a tough place for America because it's going to get ugly. I mean, they created the boom and bust. I didn't create it. Jason didn't create it. You don't spend this type of, it's ridiculousness. $2.5 trillion on good times, right? This is a good time. You don't spend and create this kind of money, what they did in COVID, and not pay a price for that. I know it's all wishful thinking and, soft landings, and that's all nonsense. If you really look at what the banks really are saying, and I'm not talking about, listen, you don't hear this on CNBC. Jim Cramer, booyah! Right? He ain't talking about it. It's just not there. And I don't know what the answer would be without it. So it's going to be, because I think that's how bad it's going to be, because that's how it happens. Think about when Europe went to the euro. How do you think they got all those countries to agree to get rid of their own printing presses? It was simple. They got to the point where they do. Gosh, if we don't, right, it's going to be economic ruin. And they all gave up sovereignty for it. I think the same thing's going to happen here. And I'm hoping after it's over, we realize who the real enemy is, and that was the central bank. It shouldn't be here. Our founding fathers knew that. They warned us this would happen. And that's exactly what's playing out today. We've had great response this week. We sold a record amount of $5 Indians the other day. Yesterday, we ran $10 Liberties. I actually thought we're going to be done. We're going to be done today. Got a call this morning. I've got some more. We're going to do it again. Gold's up $12 here. 2018 right now. $10 Liberties. We're going to do the same deal as yesterday. 1 through 9 at $1,095. 10 or more at $1,090. 20 or more, $1,085 at 800-951-0592 on the silver side. Rolls of silver quarters down to $190 a roll. By 25 rolls or more, $185 at 800-951-0592. And it's going to be, I think, Jason, like we said, 60 days from now, it's going to be very interesting what it is that we're talking about 60 days from now. Are we still talking about government shutdowns? Are we going to have some huge, massive spending deal? Is the banking funding that's supposed to come to an end? What's going to happen there? Is the reverse repo out of money? Does quantitative tightening come to an end? Do the feds lower interest rates? I mean, all of these are on the table in the next 60 days.
Yeah, and the Fed will always say what they always say, which is, well, we're going to look at the data before we make a decision. So I guess depending on the inflation, and if it comes back, which I think the inflation may stay kind of where it's at for a while, they will lower the rates. But, man, just the stuff that's going to happen. You talked about Trump the last time. I mean, he's already trying to give himself an excuse, which is, you know what, it's a good excuse because presidents don't make these economic decisions. Somebody else does. But he's like, I don't want it to happen, but I don't want to be the next Herbert Hoover. You hear those comments he made? Because Trump's looking at the economic mess that's coming. He knows, well, I might get elected here, and things just might go down the toilet, and I don't want to be blamed for that. So don't make me the next Herbert Hoover. So he's already trying to cover tracks that he doesn't want leading to him, which, that the tough talk about the digital currency and things, maybe he's giving himself some leverage to, I guess, convince the Fed to start spending, right? Print. That's what he did. He really wanted the Fed to lower rates down to zero as quickly as possible, 2018 and 2019. And then, I guess, fortunately or unfortunately for him, COVID showed up as last year. So,
yeah,
it's interesting what's going to happen.
I don't know. Again, you look at the jobs claims today. God, that's such a great number.
I wanted to say something about that.
Such a great number.
The jobless claims, Joe, that number tells me one thing, that you can't make a jobless claim when you lose one of your 3 part-time jobs. That's what it's been saying. That's what that number's been saying for a year and a half, 2 years. You can't get a jobless claim when you lose one of your 3 part-time jobs.
How can you have a number like that? Yet the economy's slowing, right? We know bankruptcies are on the rise, missed payments are on the rise, debt is maxed out. I mean, it really, truly, it leaves you scratching your head because you're trying to figure out what's going to happen and layoff. And I mean, Google just laid off a bunch of people. Their CEO came out and said, "Hey, we're laying off a bunch more people." I don't know. All of this is something where this storm is coming, this convergence is coming. For every one piece of good news, it just feels like there's 4 pieces of bad that goes with it. It's hard to see this ending well. Let's just leave it at that. 800-951-0592. And all of this, it's the plumbing of the financial system that's going to matter the most. That's just the bottom line. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot News Hour. Joe and Jason wrapping up on this Thursday. $10 liberties. This is it. Today will be the last day for $10 liberties. 1 through 9. 1,095, 10 or more, 1,090, 20 or more, 1,085. Rolls of U.S. silver quarters, pre-1965 silver quarters, 40 silver quarters. You think about digital currencies and barter and what have you. This is a great coin to have. $190 per roll. If you buy 25 rolls or more, $185 at 800-951-0592. And Jason, we're less than 80 days away from 35 trillion. This is how fast we add debt to the U.S., right? We're in the next 90 days, 80 days, the debt will be 35 trillion. And at the end of the year, here's the sad part. We already know it's going to be 36. Right? And we hope, right, Jason, we're just hoping it doesn't get to 37 before 2025, right? But that'll be, right, whoever, can you imagine the next president inauguration day and we're talking, okay, that's now 37 trillion. And, oh, by the way, next January, we're going to roll over 40.
Yeah, 37, this year, that could be short, Joe. That could easily be short. It's all about if it speeds up, because it could easily speed up, Joe. Once again, this is 2024. I think you got to think a little bigger, and that means just worse, doesn't it? If it goes the way I think, it could be much worse. I don't want to go there. I don't. I want to. You know what? I want to hang in there, right? Somehow, some way. I just don't know how. There's a lot of convergence. The Fed, listen.
They've been lying to us since before the financial crisis. Right? Go back to Alan Greenspan. We're going to pay the debt off by 2010. That was a lie. He knew that wasn't going to happen. Right? And they've been lying to us ever since. But since the financial crisis, right? Let me ask you, how in the world can any of us be confident when the Fed has this facility that the banks are hitting for billions of dollars every single week because they actually don't have the money to pay for all the withdrawals you're making? Because that's what's happening. And they have all these debt instruments that they bought. The problem is if they sell them, they lose more money. And yet somehow we got to pretend everything's wonderful. I don't know. I think that's a fool's game. That's just me, though. Right? What, somehow miraculously, Jason, these problems just go away? Right? They just go away? I mean, you wet the bed. How much newspaper can you put down before your parents realize, wait a minute, what happened to all the newspaper? And then they see it on your bed. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen, Jason.
No, and it just takes a little bit of war, and that's how you can get the bigger debts I'm talking about, and the worst things that can elevate and speed up, Joe. So they got it all in place. They can pull multiple triggers so that you point the finger away from the Fed and the financiers that put us here, Joe.
War drums may be beating. Patriot Radio News Hour. Jason and I will be right back with the Hat 50.